We're going to move over from the new Big Ten to the new SEC with a few of these games here from this past weekend and another kind of weird weekend in the South. Starting with Texas, Oklahoma. This one, you kind of hyped for this game, and we both figured Texas was going to win. Oklahoma's offense once again, like not really existent, which just a couple years ago, imagine us coming on here and saying Oklahoma has no offense and their defense, albeit, they're put in bad positions in this game. Their defense, has been the strong point of this team so far this season, but did not help them against Texas.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the Red River rivalry. I just said this off camera, but there was no rivalry in this one. Right, Oklahoma strikes first. They take a field goal. It's 3-0, and you're thinking, all right, well, the Sooners are alive. We're going to have a game here. And then there's no offense for the rest of this game. They don't let Texas score, 50, 60 points. They do still, however, lose 34-3. Quinn Ewers, 20 for 29, is really good. They let Quintravion Wisner get 118 rushing yards. It's just like, I don't know. This one is. It's not that Oklahoma's defense wasn't entirely there, but it's clearly, they locked down Texas in the first quarter, and then boom, they get punched 21-0 in the second quarter. Texas quickly puts this game to rest, 21-3 at halftime, and Oklahoma never scored after that first field goal. So, yeah, definitely crazy to think about. The Sooners have had no offense in this game, and this big rivalry game, which is always a fun one. Just wasn't actually that fun unless you're a Texas fan in this one. So. Crazy outcome in terms of just like the way Texas dominated. Texas is clearly, the current best team in college football, but you expect the rivalry games to still pose a challenge, but Oklahoma's offense just couldn't get up there. Moving from there, we have Alabama and South Carolina. Again, the South Carolina Gamecocks come out and put on a battle. They fight hard. They've almost beat Alabama. This is crazy. They could have had this one. It was in their hands. Just a few things went wrong. They fought back. Alabama did not score, at what you would think they scored, and Jalen Milroe did not have his best game. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 3 touchdowns total. So don't get it wrong and think that I'm saying he had a bad game. But threw 2 picks. Lenore Sellers was out there slinging it, had 240 yards, got himself 2 touchdowns. He also threw a pick though. And just for the most part, it looked like South Carolina was out of it. And then suddenly, because Alabama, kind of picked up in the fourth quarter, started to come back, and then the Gamecocks score on a massive, crazy touchdown to the sidearm throw to the end zone, and then go for 2, which is all you really have to do there, and it just doesn't work out. And a few other things in this game just kind of go against the Gamecocks, and you really hate to see it. It looks so much like they had this one. They recovered the onside kick, which is crazy, which is exciting, and then they throw a pick. Which is not a good way to win a football game. A few mistakes in this game kind of come back and haunt the Gamecocks, but this was exciting. I thought that they had a chance to win this one. I got a feel for specifically for, I'll say for you, because I know you and you're a Gamecocks fan. Obviously, we live in South Carolina. Many Gamecocks fans. It's too many moments this season where things like this are happening. I mean, you dominate Kentucky, but you fight LSU and come up short just in the end. You fight Alabama, come up short just in the end. Does make the Ole Miss loss weirder, but really got a feel for this team and the fan base. They just keep almost getting there, but just cannot close.
Yeah, this game was kind of a story. I mean, even for Alabama, it was a story of we don't want to win this game. Here, please take it. No, I don't want it. You take it. I mean, that was the entire game. So many times where Carolina had a chance to capitalize off an Alabama mistake, they made a mistake on their own. They got an intentional grounding off of Jalen Milroe, who I don't understand where he was going on that play. Like the man, he snapped the ball. Like I'm pretty sure, like I can't remember exactly where they snapped it, but like the man went backwards like 15 yards. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. But had a intentional grounding in the end zone, so that was a safety, and then Lenore Sellers, man, he makes some plays sometimes, and then sometimes he does things like this. Just a couple plays later, he fumbles. Then Alabama, Jalen Milroe has another mistake that you mentioned. He throws an interception, allows SC to tie it. No, excuse me, almost tie it up. 14-12. So after a mostly lackluster, first half for South Carolina, because all their points were scored within like a minute and a half, I think,
Yeah.
around a minute and a half. So it was a very quick turnaround for them. And look, we see this all the time. Like, this is just take out the Vanderbilt game. We see this all the time where these, I guess, mid-tier or even mid to low-tier kind of teams will kind of show up randomly against, an Alabama or Georgia lately, and it'll make it a game for a little bit. Then they'll come back, and Alabama or Georgia, whoever those top teams, they'll win, and it looks like it was never in doubt. But SC comes out in that first drive, long drive, half the quarter. I mean, it was a beautiful drive, multiple third down conversions, all the way down for a touchdown. And I'm like, wow, they might actually have a chance if that defense just lets them just go up and down the field on them. Like, hey, maybe they have a chance. And then they get an interception of Jalen in the end zone. I'm like, yo, it's early fourth quarter. I know you're only up 5 points, but you get that interception, you've got life. And then Lenore Sellers fumbles. And I'm just like, what in the blue heck is going on? Then they score. We go down. Because of a penalty, we get held back after getting a few yards there. Miss a field goal. Alabama scores again. We get a chance once again, like you mentioned. We go down, we score within like a minute. Get the onside kick. Bad play first down, bad play second down, interception, third down, game over. I mean, Alabama didn't want to win this game, but clearly South Carolina didn't want to win even more. Look, you can take some solace in knowing that you play pretty well, but I'd be pissed if I was on Carolina knowing I could have beat the Alabama team that just lost to Vanderbilt, beating Alabama to get them their second straight loss.
Yeah, so from there we'll stick in the SEC. Another good kind of battle game. The Mississippi State, who are 1-5 Bulldogs, come out fight against the Georgia Bulldogs. They have a Bulldog battle, and it actually is more of a battle than you would think it is. In the first half, it looks like Georgia's going to take it over, and actually, from where I saw most of the first half, and I went away thinking that this one was wrapped up. Mississippi came out in the second half, tried to make it a little bit more of a battle. Ended up losing by 10, 41-31. And then staying in the SEC, the Volunteers and the Florida Gators, Tennessee Volunteers and Florida Gators had themselves a little bit of a battle. Goes into overtime at 17-17. This high-flying Tennessee offense has not flown very high the past few weeks. Nico, another kind of rough game for him. This game was all Dylan Sampson for Tennessee. They pull it off in overtime, get down the field and get 6 points. Call this one 23-17 to remain 5-1 to avoid a second straight upset as well. So I mean, here we have Georgia definitely less struggling than Tennessee, but both these two kind of top tier SEC teams that we've looked at as top tier football teams all season, struggling and almost falling down by the wayside. And Georgia doesn't struggle as much as Tennessee, right? They put up 41 points. Their offense goes out there and does what it has to do, but they allow 31 from Mississippi State, who are now 1-5 or 1-4 at the time of that game. And I kind of just like looking at these two games. To me, I think that the Tennessee one is a little more shocking. Florida has not been amazing. They're 3-3. They're better than Mississippi State record-wise. But they're a team that, I kind of thought the Tennessee would bounce back and recover here. But Graham Mertz went out there and tested them for sure. DJ Lagway came out and put a test on them. Both these guys played pretty well, all things considered. I think just like which one of these two kind of sticks out more to you? For me, I do think that it's Tennessee struggling again, having Nico play another bad game. Because I do think as good as Mississippi State came out and played, I mean, Michael Van Buren, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, great game for him. I think that the Florida pushing Tennessee to the brink and going to overtime is definitely much more of like a wow moment for me.
Yeah, especially when you consider, the matchup this weekend, Tennessee and Alabama,
Yeah.
both teams you're expecting to kind of come back, have better games, and then they really don't, almost all lose as well. Tennessee was probably in a worse spot than Alabama was, even with Alabama's mistakes. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee, I guess the poll voters, they also kind of had the same idea because, Alabama Personally, I think Alabama should have dropped just a little bit, but Alabama didn't move at all. Tennessee dropped 3 spots, so they're not even in the top 10 anymore. So Tennessee definitely for me is more disappointing. Like Georgia, that game, like obviously Mississippi State isn't really good, but it's not like Georgia. If they had come out and basically done the opposite, so if they hadn't done anything in the first half, like they've been doing all season, probably would have been a little bit more worried. But since it seems like they just kind of let off, um, once they went up 34-10, they kind of let off. Like I'm not gonna worry too much about that. They know they can't do that against a team like Texas, who they have next week.
Yeah.
Tennessee, on the other hand, not scoring a single point in the first half. I mean, your defense is still there, obviously, so they can hang their hat on that. But offensively, past few games, I mean, even going back to the Oklahoma game, their offense wasn't that amazing. It's just kind of the turnovers and stuff that they got. So, yeah, Tennessee and Alabama definitely this past weekend they survived. Georgia, I guess you can kind of put in that category. Texas, though, they absolutely thrived, and right now they're the cream of the crop in the SEC.